how those team fights will work. This, I appreciate a lot more. A little bit more disengaged, very vulnerable, though.
Should be pretty nice, especially with all the dashes on the side of Gen G. You just throw some rocks down, and you are going to be so annoying in team fights. Like Lucian can't go for executes. Azir is going to have trouble getting into the fights. Wukong as well. Fiora as well. It's just, I think it's a great pick overall. In terms of what was left, I feel like Sylas could have been right down Zeka's alley, but didn't really mesh too well with what they're trying to go for.
The Sylas pick has so many great ults, can steal, and can be synergistic with Vi, and also can help protect the Zeri and help be a front line for the Zeri. The Taliyah will not do really any of those things. Can have some good synergy with Vi, obviously, with the pick potential with the shove, and can cut team fights in half, so really disrupt Gen G, make the Lucian who's trying to look for that aggressive Gale Force forward, get cut off in the front line, force the Nami ult defensively. There's a lot of power. In mid-game fights with the Taliyah, you have a lot of rotational power. You can be more active on the map. You can roam easily. But it all depends on how that early game goes, and will he stave off the pressure because he's so vulnerable.
It's an angry rabbit over there on the left.
And a very hopeful Hanwha Life fan on the right. The Ebichu sign strikes again.
Yeah. Even if you guys can't read Korean, if you see a bunch of the same character multiple times in a row, it's Chovy. That's what they're spamming on their sign almost all the time when it is a Gen G matchup.
This is vintage Gen G, everything they want in this composition, in this draft. I think the big mistake here for Hanwha Life was taking the Vi over the Wukong. We'll see if it pays off.
You keep saying that. I know pace is in this game, but Either way, guys, we do have game number 2. Let's jump onto the Rift. That Lulu skin looks terrifying. Her face was like hyper realistic. I don't know. I did not like that experience.
It's not your favorite Lulu. Hashtag not my Lulu.
Yeah. No more zoom ins on that, please.
See how Life lanes this one out? Was very abused, let's say, in game 1 on his Ashe. Was constantly punished for some aggressive positioning, as that's a vital towards the south side of the model, so Doran wants to snipe it here while putting some pressure on for this ward of Peanut, getting some additional information. Looks like they may... For a second there, I was like, he's not dropping it. Maybe they're actually going to try to take the red buff away. That would be a bit aggressive. Will not be the case. And yeah, I mean, sorry I keep saying pays off, but there's a lot of risks. There's a lot of greedy choices made.
You're all about the greed.
Will their risk be rewarded? Maybe that's the better way to say it when Pace is in the game.
I think that's definitely a safer way, for sure. Let's take a look at the runes, see if we see anything insane. We do have first strike here for Chovy.
And for Pace, which is much more common, of course, on the Lucian. There's a lot of different ways you can play Azir, but first strike definitely the strongest one right now into Taliyah, so you can get that harassment value. We've seen like Comet and stuff like that from Azir in the past, but it's really quite fallen off. You can see it really anymore.
Doran was on the wrong side of this, but he's fine. It's the Vital.
Yeah, this Vital behind Kingen, actually kind of getting unlucky. Doran not going to be able to punish that one very easily. Here's the level 2 all-in. See this all the time with the Zeri Lulu into this matchup. Viper actually gets a ton of damage done. They don't commit summoners. As Paze doesn't trade back, Viper doesn't need to barrier. That's actually amazing for this lane for Life and Viper. Hitting 2 first gives you a lot of power here.
Yeah. As you mentioned, very common. I think that's part of the reason why a lot of pro teams are still like, well, we can get through this lane. And Zeri's good in the late game, so we're still going to play it, right? But the numbers have not lied so far. Our sample size is relatively large. I mean, it's 28 games that Zeri has only won 8 of for an 8-20 score, 28% win rate.
Yeah.
So far, teams have not really found a lot of luck with this Zeri.
Mentioned earlier that Viper and Life having a lot of problems in 2v2s and getting ganked a lot. Like their laning has not been successful. They have not been able to get through a lot of these lanes for free. This is a good start for them in this one. It's their the third duo actually behind DRX and Kwangdong Freaks right now in terms of lane. And you know, so far so good, right? Getting this early back off, pushing the wave in. No level 3 gank with this Wukong because his kit isn't conducive to actually making a dive happen or anything like that. It's no Elise, and the lane wasn't pushed in a way that could happen. As FaZe did go for the Ignite in this game. So now that they return here, let's see if he can stave the pressure off further, because this is where it starts to get really ugly. Level 3 Lucian, no gank, he's got Ignite, and this is where the pressure comes on when FaZe returns to lane here.
Yeah. Viper very comfortably able to go for the barrier in this game. Not a lot of hard CC on the side of Genji. You can get bubbled, but other than that, just dodge it forehead. That's what I like to do.
Yeah, not going to be very valuable against Wukong Cyclone either.
Yeah. Definitely a good choice. Will help him get through the lane. As Zeka did already back and teleport in, so he's just trying to be annoying. As Jovi's just trying to push in one last wave.
Jovi is getting so much out of his Doran's ring. You can see he's got a little bit of mana left because of it, and he's just kind of constantly putting that pressure on here. He's, just like last game, delaying his back. Doesn't want to teleport, wants to get the maximum value.
CS.
Hey, I'm a caster cursing him, all right? I'm trying to give Hanwha a chance.
Nice try, we'll see. Unfortunately, Jovi is always the POG, regardless of who gets it, so I feel like that kind of like sets off the caster curse. It takes the other side.
Yeah. And so far, again, Slaying going very well for Viper Light. Take a bit of an aggressive trade there. Not be rewarded this time around, but pushing the lane in one more time.
Albion Online is a sandbox MMORPG in which you write your own story instead of following a laid-out path. Explore a vast open world. Everything you do has an impact on Albion's player-driven economy. Every piece of equipment is crafted by players from resources gathered by players. The equipment you wear defines who you are. Switching from knight to magician is as easy as swapping your armor and weapon, or be a combination of the two. Venture deep inside dungeons and discover wealth and danger in equal measure. Relax by retreating to your personal island, where you can build a home, grow crops, and raise animals. Grab a fishing pole and head for Albion's rivers, lakes, and oceans. Join a guild, play together, take part in massive player versus player battles, and claim your piece of the world. This is Albion Online.
Mệt mỏi, đuối sức, đánh mất phong độ, cản bước thành công. Đã có nước tăng lực thảo dược hồng mã. Với thành phần thảo dược và vitamin không caffeine cung cấp năng lượng lành mạnh, an toàn. Hồng mã tăng lực mạnh mẽ, tăng lực bền bỉ, đập tan mệt mỏi, kiếp sức ngày dài. Vững vàng phong độ, chinh phục mọi thử thách. Hồng mã, năng lượng lành mạnh, tăng lực an toàn từ thảo dược và vitamin. Sản phẩm của dược phẩm Hoa Linh.
Codex first from Jovi.
Yeah.
I feel like you don't see that very often.
Like rare. A little bit of extra cooldown reduction and try to get that damage through. The refillable pot comes through too, so can't buy his last chapter as early.
Did you notice that both mid laners took the perfect timing rune?
Yes.
Big Valdez fans here.
I thought you were going to mention it
Jovi
earlier.
and Zeka. They understand the value.
I think a lot of this game is determined by mid-game fights, and with this Talia pick and the Vi, Zeri is a little bit deadlier actually earlier on in the game in those fights, and if she gets fed, can be huge. So I think taking a stopwatch here means you have a little bit more agency to play riskily as Zeka to set up for that play.
Viper dashed very aggressively forward. If Peanut was there maybe 5 seconds ahead of that, he was probably dead, or at least he had to flash. But Peanut gets there a little bit later. Just going to back away, do his Krugs. And not much else will happen.
No.
We had yesterday the latest first blood of the 2023 spring season. So far it was like 19 minutes, 40 seconds or something. Good old Bro versus Live Sandbox. Always delivering.
Yeah. I don't think we'll be getting very close to that this game. Just a theory based on the Lucian Nami Fiora comp that we have here versus Vi Talia. Somebody's dying. Somebody's dying soon. We have a skirmish here over these first few objectives. Sorry, I'm just telling the truth, guys.
Yeah.
Putting it out there.
The Light's been very aggressive on the Nami, trying to make stuff happen, putting his body on the line. We'll see if it pays off for him.
Ha!
Here
You did it
comes
again.
the, yeah. That is a extremely common trade that we see here with Azirs against non-mobile AP carries.
Yeah. Mid laners who do not have any sort of dash or escape are going to be vulnerable to the level 6. So you see it every time. Try to force a flash. Chovy gets it. And, you know, we'll be ready for the objective fight, depending on when they take it with that ultimate back up online.
Uh-oh. That's a knockback. No riposte available for Doran as he is being hunted down, as now the Grand Challenge comes out, but it feels a bit late. We'll see if he can trade this back. He's got that other dash as the chase comes in, and Kingen going to get riposted at the end and actually beats him all the way down the lane as Kingen is not able to get the kill. And now, with no Ghost available, Kingen is just
And he gives
for
the
the
kill
Fiora.
to Doran as well!
Yep. Perfectly handled.
Oh man, the flash from Doran, last possible second. So well played from him. The perfect dash is there too, with the Grand Challenge late.
Oh, level 6 here. Hit for Pays. This might be a little bit risky, but they are just going to click onto the Lucian, and the fact that Delight is not able to hit level 6 means that they cannot push him back. Viper nearly dies, but he's fine.
Chovy not going to shuffle in for anything. Doesn't have his ult just yet. Comes over here for an attempted save, but that's a nice kill. Picked up here early for Viper. Using the level 6 Vi. We talked about how Vi can get the Zeri ahead, especially resource stop.
What?
Scared me so much.
Now that was a big greed.
Yes.
Trying to channel my inner wolf.
Yeah, the greed. Doran trades early, gets knocked up here, and then the best gank assist for Cassante, we've talked about this jokingly in our casting team, the gank assist for the Cassante is always the turret.
The ward!
Yeah.
It just died before Peanut ran over it.
Nope, he does not know. And so Peanut comes over. Doran slashes in one more time with the lunge. Peanut gets a knock up here. And just flashes for this one. Gives the kill to Doran. That was really unfortunate for Kingen. As, like you mentioned here, there's no level 6 for Delight. And he just slides away. It's like, sorry. Viper taking an extra turret shot here with the Ignite almost kills him.
How does Nami swim if there's no water?
Like, we don't have, I don't know. How does she wear boots?
It's just some questions that will just never be answered. It really bothers me.
Yeah, well, like you said, we'll never know.
Nocturne can wear boots. Nami can wear boots, but Cassiopeia can't? What?
Yeah, sounds like it might be
That's
time
not
to
fair.
give her boots back, you know?
Yeah.
Time to buff Cassiopeia, bring her back into the meta.
I feel like she'd be pretty good.
She is on the edge of it right now. We see, you know, Hubbard sometimes against Rise has been banned. I saw in the LCS. It's still hanging out. Look,
Nothing against.
don't diss other regions on our show. You could do it off camera, okay, with me in our private time. But officially, we love the LCS.
They're great. They are, actually.
Genji, by the way, just wrestling control of this Drake extremely well. Pays using his ult, not getting a ton of damage. They're going to contest one more
The
time.
burst. Nope. Goes to the Wukong. As over the wall he goes. The Peanut is stunned by the rocks. And that's exactly what the Celia brings in, as now Viper goes straight over the wall into the face of Pays, and Delight is going to zap Delight. But that is about it. They're not going to go for the dive.
So Genji barely getting control of that Drake, really holding on to it tight there. But unfortunately not. Oh, as Clid wants to set something up here on the return to lane, potentially. See if this does work out. Committing a lot to
Maybe
this.
it's just AFK.
Nah, I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay, so he waits, but then when they arrive,
Yeah,
he's
just a
gonna
little
leave.
bit mistimed with what he thought was going to happen there, but it's okay.
Unlucky.
I mean, they still get a ton of value out of this, and they were protected by Clid. Like, his job in this case is to make sure nobody comes over here and punishes them. They can get these plates, and then maybe he even gets a kill if Peanut isn't there. Just a little bit mistimed, but the idea is still good. And they will pick up tons of plates. So a kill here for Viper, lots of plate gold. They win the last team fight. Gen.G is still with a 1 Drake lead here, but this is a pretty good game state overall here for Hanwha Life at this moment in time. The Gale Force is coming up soon for Pays, and that's going to be the next objective fight we see, but not coming up for a while now, where we're going to see that value come through. Is Gen.G in a really greedy spot here, and Peanut just outplayed here. Pushed into the wall. Clid, you know, interesting choice of how he did that, but he takes him out. It's his kill. They win the fight, lose the Drake. So it would have been amazing for Hanwha Life if they actually had been able to hold on to that one, especially considering now that Pays is going to grab all that plate gold with the Herald here bottom side.
I hate when I get outplayed by rocks. It's just the worst feeling. You're playing a Dash champion and Talia just says no. Feels sad, man. As the Rift Herald to go into the bottom lane, that is a nice amount of gold traded back. Doesn't look like there's a big gap in the bottom side. In fact, Gen.G have taken the lead in terms of gold. We're behind a little bit there. What is the soul going to be this time? I don't think it's going to be Chemtech twice in a row.
Don't ask me. You're the one who knows everything, apparently.
They definitely wouldn't put it 2 in a row because that's too obvious, right? Like, they got to mix it up a little bit. But they are biased towards Chemtech soul, of course.
Well, wasn't the last one last night, Chemtech, so it's still 2 in a row?
No, it's a new day.
Oh, okay, so it resets. All right,
cool. Okay, here comes a massive dive. The roam potential from the Talia showing off as Delight. This time it's him. That's a massive bubble. Buys a lot of time, but they were a bit zoned.
Just showing off his mechanics. I mean, if we weren't outnumbered, I would have absolutely turned this with his bubble. But yeah, he does go down, and really nice setup there with the Wild Growth. Really good combo. We talked about Wukong combos, obviously, with Cyclone and what you can do to protect your AD carry as well as get extra knockups from the Wild Growth. The Vi can do the same thing when she gets on top of somebody. Wild Growth comes in. And despite Delight's best attempts, he dies here, and this is a lot of extra pressure here once again onto Pays in this lane. Viper looking for one more plate here before it falls. Will not be lucky enough to get it. He really wants it. They're pinging it too, and it's just not going to get it.
Oh, close. Not quite enough, as we do have the crown finished here for Zeka.
This is all started by an aggressive setup here fighting for Tribrush, and the fact that this is what I was saying about with Talia's roam power, especially in the early game. A tussle like this, a skirmish on the bottom side, a 3v3 becomes a 4v3, and Chovy cannot match with this Azir. He will not be able to get down there fast enough. Good Wild Growth on top of Clid's ult. That's a dead Nami, and that's an attempted set of plates to be taken out. Viper's picked up so much already. 233. Doesn't get the full turret, unfortunately. It would have been nice if they had a minion wave after this. But still a nice edge picked up.
Yeah, it is pretty nice. The crowns are always a topic of discussion here in the LCK. We have some big haters here on our talent roster, and I think this time it's not a huge fan. I think it's too easy to proc. What do you think?
I'm kind of mixed on it because I'm scared for Zeka.
No rocks on the ground, as no flash is going to help you here, Zeka, as the rocks come now, but a little bit too little too late. Free food for the Peanut Wukong.
That was really well played from Peanut, wrapping around there. Back to the conversation about the crown, it's easy to proc, but your survivability is your biggest problem here as Zeka in this game. There's so many ways he can get blown up by a Lucian, even by a Wukong. And yeah, if you proc it with a Lucian W or something like that, you'll feel amazing, but that's not always going to happen. It's not always realistic. Peanut, hello?
He just, he thought those were his allies, I guess. He is going to survive as in goes Viper. He is angry, and he is looking for blood as they will dive here with the Vi. That is a double kill for our Zeri, who is now 3-0.
Yeah, it's hard to certify it.
Stamp it? No?
I'll stamp it. All right.
Okay.
All right, we'll get it. But Zeri now massively ahead in this game. Lucian's taken off the map here. And this is a huge swing back after losing out on Zeka on the bottom side of the map. He's just going to be free farming down there. And Kingen comes over here with a lot of resources removed, with Fiora having to rotate down. Big win here as Peanut just unseen, Zeka greedy. So
Crown isn't even, it's not even up.
Yeah. Hi. That's not really the conversation we're having about Crown. That's not a, but there are threats, right? There are ways you can die. And saving a lot of that extra damage against Illusion will be huge. But I guess you feel like as Peanut here, you can turn this with the tidal wave. But there's just too much damage here, and Clid's around with ultimate could dive deep between these turrets. This is
I would have loved to see that with Peanut's vision. Maybe we can convince the spacers to just throw that out, because it's a pretty big turning point. It looked like he was just kind of face checking where he did not think they were going to be. He's like, oh, well, I guess I'm dead. And then that's 2 kills to the Zeri. That can totally turn this game on its head. That looked pretty comfortable for Gen G, but I don't know. There's a huge threat now on Hama Life. And
Gale Force is ready here for Pays, but the Zeri is so set up in this composition to succeed with the lead that Hana Life have on her right now. Like, he's not behind, he's not under threat of Lucian in the 1v1, is a level up. And in moments like this, you can actually put pressure on the Lucian. It's supposed to be the other way, when you're talking about 17.5 minutes into the game as Kingen.
This teleport is very interesting. Just going to give up bottom lane and push Kingen out. So they're essentially trading turrets as they will get the top turret here, as in goes the Vi once again. That massive, by the way, it is Chemtech Soul again, as Delight is going to get away because of Chemtech Soul. Yes, I love it. Just really, really happy about that. The Vi just totally countered by one plant. Either way, Gen G is coming in, and now they're going to have a nice engage. Clid is low, Life is low, Viper has no front line, and he will get dunked on by the Cyclone. As Dorn is on the chase, and once again we have a broken fight. The 2 tanky members actually coming in here. Chovy dodges the Q3, and he is going to not get the kill onto Zeka, as we are just going way off the map, really making Jonah Strong do his job.
Dorn?
Yeah, might as well.
Dorn's diving the fountain at 18 minutes. Does get out of there, but this is a fight and overextension for Hana Life Esports, where they use a lot of tools to try to catch Delight. They're overextended, and it's almost as if they forgot that the reason why this is a risky play, and yes, the blast call does save
love it. Viper actually hit it.
But remember that the topside push there for Gen G is why this play was possible in the first place, so they thought. So, unfortunately, there are some rotating Gen G members who come down over here for the punish. The turret is still up. This is a much easier, more realistic play. If mid-turret's down, it's not. And you wanted to get more out of this than just trading, for some pressure in bottom lane while you lose your top turret. You look for the punish, but you actually get punished yourself. And really good Zonia's there from Zeka, because if he doesn't, he dies to Leandri's. He still goes super low. And
making our observers work.
Yeah.
Zoom ins, the camera pans. That could have gone a lot worse. Like, they got themselves into a really sticky situation.
I think what I will say about that play that I liked is that it means that Hanwha are trying to make plays, trying to be aggressive, and trying to punish, which is something I think over the last few games we haven't always been able to say about them. Sometimes they're too timid, they're getting out macro, they're not communicating, they're not trying to make punish plays. This was the wrong choice, but the fact that they made the choice and they did it quickly and decisively, I think is a good sign, even if the end result is Gen G favored.
Yeah, certainly better than I think what we witnessed in the series against KT, where it was kind of just slowly and passively falling over. So that's certainly been a nice improvement point for Hama Life. I'm glad you did point that out. Even though, this might end up being a 0-2, still good to find the small positive parts of the losing team.
We've talked about Clid's isolated deaths and how he has the highest death share on his team of any jungler, but he's had a great game here. He's found some incredible picks. He's gotten Viper ahead. And it seems to me that even if this is an 0-2 loss, what I want to highlight and talk about again is just Hana Life seem to have identified a lot of their problems. Dandy's talked about how this team's communication is its biggest issue. Viper?
Yeah, he's eating so much damage. He's getting really aggressive, really trying to press the advantage in the mid lane, but
still a Zeri.
It's, I mean, he is going to heal up. He does have shield though, but At the end of the day, gotta be a bit careful as they will push in. The rocks are on the ground, so it's gonna make it difficult for Gen G to do much as Azir wasn't here.
Yeah.
And they're just 1-3-1ing already.
There are no vulnerable turrets here because both of those outers have been taken. Chovy's going to TP bottom side here to look to group for this third Drake. And, you know,
It has a death cap.
yeah, he went death cap second. I was going to mention this. He has a ton of damage here and can push structures super hard too, but with his teleport down, Hanwha Life Esports is too timid to take this, and I think, frankly, even with Zeri on 2 items here, Lucian's caught up. You don't need to force, but you don't have a good side laning option here either. So you're kind of trapped in the LCK phrase of rock and hard place as Hanwha right now. And this is where the Vi doesn't have utility.
Quite literally. I mean, they're trying to get on top of the Fiora here as Doran is going to be isolated, just Cassante things as he goes miles away from the team.
Doran is a big Hanwha Life fan. He's trying to join the squad maybe this game.
A little bit.
Now it's a 5v4.
Ooh, nice look there as they did spot the Wukong coming out of the jungle.
Kingen is not here, but does have TP, so he can come straight back in after healing up. There's a control ward for him to jump to right in the front of this pit. There he comes.
Just gonna play it slow here. Well, I say that. Lid's gonna press the advantage as in they go. Chovy has to go to a stopwatch. The 4v5 for Gen G does not pay off as he engaged very clean from the side of Hanwha Life Esports.
Payoff. You did it again.
I didn't say pays off.
Okay, all right.
I said payoff.
All right.
It's different.
Calling you
Here
out.
comes pays, as it's a lot of damage actually into life mostly, but that's totally fine at this point in time.
Doran's up here top side, could try to collapse down. His ultimate's coming back online. As this is an interesting call here to try to push inner instead of doing anything to Baron. They do not have Delight's ult either, but it's coming up. I think there was an opportunity here for Gen G to try to collapse here, but they're not confident in it. We'll actually give a Baron to Hanwha Life Esports right now. There's no vision in here, but definitely an interesting situation as Doran's going to try to go for 2.
Oh, man.
Will he actually get this? I think he does.
Yeah.
There's no answer whatsoever. Hanwha will go for the empowered recalls. There's no chase. They don't see this one coming. Gen G, the masterclass macro play here, will be, of course, a big trade-off in that Hanwha can try to push this Baron buff into an advantage. But easier said than done with a Zeri composition here and a Cassante in a side.
The amount of flipping we see in Korean League of Legends, this is an extremely rare choice to make.
Yeah, that's the
It
Q3.
kind of makes sense, you know, with the comp they have, the Fiora.
Watching this the first time, I thought Doran actually lunged into range to be pulled back, but it was the Q3 there from the Cassante to pull him in. Good play from Kingen. And then they collapse in here to contest for this one. And perhaps this is where the confidence is lost in terms of coming over to Baron. Last time we tried to contest numbers down, didn't go so well. Just let that one go. So it was a really clean team fight and setup there for Hanwha Life, and Gen G greedy to contest it. With those turrets being taken down, Gen G actually stay really even in gold here, just 300 down despite the Baron buff here for Hanwha Life. So good play from Doran, taking a lot of those structures out, opening up win conditions for them in the later parts of the game here. They need it so badly with this Azir and Fiora because the Zeri is well and truly online. And 5v5 fights get harder and harder, especially with Kingen playing this Cassante so well.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, a Baron this early on is going to afford Hanwha Life Esports a chance to get to their big spike, which is Zeri, 3-4 items, but they're not quite there yet. So it's like, okay, we got the Baron. It's going to put us in a good position, but immediately it doesn't give us a huge, impact in this game. So Gen G, as you mentioned, opening up some win conditions with the side lane pushes.
And from ahead, this Vi, in awkward team fights where Gen G have done a lot of damage first to have the better setup, the Vi becomes very difficult to use. But in skirmishes like this one, or when Gen G is being pushed around the map by this Baron buff,
Doran is just getting in there, does not give a damn as he is going to have that grand challenge onto Zeke. He gets knocked up. This Salia getting into a lot of sticky situations, but will get out alive.
Kingen is going to go back to the side here, trying to grab this turret as they group up in mid, the last of this Baron buff. 4-1ing it, saying the Azir turret is going to stop us from pushing this one, but you can't stop Kingen on the bottom side. Doesn't have a wave just yet, but one's going to crash through in a moment. So a little bit of extra gold going over. But now we need to see Hanwha Life Esports. They kind of were gifted that overextension by Doran, not in that last fight, but the previous one where we did see Kingen ult him out. A lot of control over both objectives, but we haven't seen a 5v5 fair fight on both teams' terms. And that's where Hanwha Life Esports comp can excel with this Zeri that's about to hit third item, but it doesn't necessarily excel by default. You have to play it well, you have to have that frontline setup, you need to be in position to be decisive and take Chovy out early because he has also long-term damage in this fight. You do have a Lucian who can threaten the backline, can threaten the Taliyah if she tries to go in for a shove aggressively because she's not going to offer a ton of damage in this fight with the build she chose, really just utility and CC. Yeah, a lot of AP in this build with the death cap, but it's not going to be long-term damage. She's just too vulnerable in this comp. It's burst that she provides. So the fighting is very complex here for Hanwha Life Esports. If they get a pick, it's easy. But if it's a straight-up 5v5, a lot can go wrong. The Wukong, the Chovy ult, Chovy's Leandri's damage. So that's where Hanwha Life, if they pass that test with this composition, they could bring us to a game 3. They're in a really good spot to do that. The execution is what we're waiting for.
Yeah, and that's really the question because that is their win condition, right? So they kind of have to execute it well, right? Because if they don't have team fights and they try to play some kind of like 1-3-1 against Gen G, they would not win.
No.
Spaze is going to just drop the cannon for seemingly no reason. And that's okay, happens to the best of us. But yeah, I mean, Gen G, if I'm them, like, you can probably win some team fights, especially with how skilled you are, but you also can just split push and never team fight Hanwha Life Esports again. So Hanwha are going to be looking for opportunities to force Gen G into team fights, which might not be all that simple. I mean, they do have a couple of objectives coming up, but Gen G already have 2 Drakes, so they can just kind of give over Drakes if they want to prioritize split pushing.
So Hanwha are now being tested simultaneously on how they could 5v5 team fight, right, like we were talking about, but also in how they respond to this Fiora, because the Fiora can stop Hanwha Life Esports from getting those successful setups if she's given too much of a leash, where Doran actually starts threatening inhibitors and stuff like that. And Gen G have, as you mentioned, this is really critical, as you pointed out, because they have a Drake lead and the Soul is fairly irrelevant in this game. Gen G have the leeway to actually hard push, commit a teleport, and try to go for a base trade type scenario if Hanwha are indecisive. So Hanwha need this Drake, but even getting this Drake alone doesn't feel like a huge win, and Gen G can try to punish them if they mess up the positioning in this fight, but there's no losing for Gen G on the map right now. And this is going to be a game that goes much longer if Hanwha wins it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at the moment, King is doing a pretty good job of matching Doran in the side lane. Doran did just hit level 16, and he is, you know, just hovering around this fight. It seems like Gen G are actually going to commit to a team fight, or at least challenge here. They are posturing for it. Again, as we mentioned, they don't have to do this, but seems like they want to.
Zeka's so far back in this fight, going to try to cut them off.
It's a nice wall. It's going to cut them off for now, but in goes Chovy and sweeps in 3! Is it enough is the question. Is the damage there? Paze is going to get on the front line now as the grand challenge is not enough. Down he goes, and Paze is a little bit too close to the sun, perhaps. He will get that 1 kill, but Klid and Zeka looking to try to clean up here, and Paze is so low. He will have to flash away from this one, so Hanwha Life Esports barely going to hang on and take that fight down.
But I think kind of ironically, because Zeka's positioning was so good and he wasn't really the target in this fight, Viper dies so early, he has to be the long-term damage, and he in fact is in this fight because he has all of that AP. You usually don't get to survive this long as Taliyah. And with this knockup coming through here from Chovy, Zeka still survives. Notice Paze does not turn on him and punish. They're so tunneled on the Zeri, and he gets him, and then Paze is chasing down the bottom part of the fight here, but Zeka's actually left to his own devices. Look how much damage Zeka does, untouched, no Lucian after him, no CC after that initial Chovy attack. And Zeka's like, thank my lucky stars I'm alive here because I had to carry this fight and do all the heavy lifting outside of that initial engage. And he absolutely did. Now he can pick up a Zhonya's here as his next item and hope to do the same thing. But this fight needed to be cleaner for Hanwha Life Esports, needed to be watching where Chovy was, because it's a win in the fight for Hanwha Life Esports, but no major objectives to take here with it afterwards. So it's a win, but it's a small win, still behind in gold. So it's not that significant here. But what it does show is that, you know, this comp is hard to execute. And Viper dying there, if Zeka's collapsed upon right afterwards, it's not a winnable fight, right? So Viper got to be careful. They got to watch Chovy. He's got so many angles he can threaten with.
He got CC'd to death after just only hitting Cassante the last time. So Chovy, even though he got the ult, is going to have to get a bit more as a massive double knockup. And Chovy is just gone as I immediately caster curse him. And a fantastic play comes out from Hanwha Life Esports. This is what you got to do. You set up around the big objective, you force Gen.G to team fight you, and you can take the wins.
They know that Chovy wants to go for that angle. They know he wants to slide across and look for the ult, and Zeka grabs him.
I don't know what's going on here. Thorin just decided maybe to give a little gift on over. He does not have Spellbook, and he is just probably going to die. He is going to run away for quite a while as here comes Viper. The riposte is good, but eventually
he's going to buy some time here, which
I mean,
is my caster way of saying
okay.
He does die, but the real hero in this fight is Zeka, right? Who ends up grabbing Chovy on the edge there. Doran sticks around, buys some time, let's say, trying to be nice. And he does not gain really much from this, but this is where you know, as Zeka here, with this setup, that where is Chovy going to be in this fight? You have Clid there with you too. Where's Chovy want to be? Right there. Clid go around, wrap around, and let's punish him. And just delete him instantly. FaZe leaves. He's like, I'm not doing anything in this fight. And maybe Doran thought that FaZe, if he sticks around, we can actually contest this. Maybe we can push him off, but FaZe definitely didn't agree. I don't agree either. Doran is punished late here. He's not going to be able to split push or threaten Hanwha Esports. So this Baron is much easier to use with no Fiora on the other side for sides. He's coming up in 10 seconds here, but there's no wave for him to jump to threaten anything. Look at the top wave, look at the bottom wave. Kingan's pushing here. Doran going to be useless on the respawn, unfortunately.
Level 18 for Zeka, as he is just cruising ahead. You know, thought this was going to be mainly about the Zeri, and Viper's doing a great job, but Zeka's just having a day out now as Peanut is caught. Well, his clone was. Doran as well, a little bit, but he just going to dash over the wall.
The wall guarantees an inhibitor, though.
Yeah.
So it's a good play, nonetheless, for Zeka here.
Definitely worth. Zeka has been such an annoyance on this Taliyah. 4 items now, as they will look to siege here in the mid lane.
He can play deep for scoops with his Zhonya's that, you know, I talked about his good ability. He's got it now. They have this Baron buff. Look at the angles he's trying to set up here. Can chip away, and then if anyone comes for a flank, if there's a Fiora flank, if there's a Wukong flank, he can just toss them into the rest of the team. The jaws of Hanwha Life and destroy whoever flanks. So it's really difficult for Gen.G to even step up to their own wall right now, as you can see here with the combos preset. Just wearing down on this turret.
Kingan doing a great job of putting on the pressure in the bottom side, making this very annoying. Peanut gets stunned and he misses the knock-up and immediately just gets nuked by the Taliyah, and that is the power of this pick into so many dashes. Down will go Doran. We look to be going to a game number 3 as Viper. He wants this to make this about him.
The second you try to go in like that, you are punished by this Taliyah. Why this push is so oppressive. Peanut hopes for the hero play. He comes up empty, and I think we are going to that 3rd game, although heroic attempt here from FaZe.
See if they can push in this one. Chovy is alive, and that is going to be a big issue for them in terms of pushing. FaZe will barely survive as in goes Chovy. He's going to get a massive sweep, catches one. Zhonya's the other. He's got FaZe here doing damage as well. And Viper can't end the game as he's going to get the kill onto FaZe, but immediately goes down. And a triple kill to the Azir.
And everything about this for Hanwha Life was so clean until they stayed too long against a 3.5 item Chovy here. He's almost got his voice out, but he's got Leandres. He's got that damage. You took a lot of chip in that Peanut engage attempt. You took a lot of chip there from FaZe before this happens. We're going back to this moment here for Peanut, who just dashes through, is stunned, and then is blown up from this Taliyah. And they're going to actually go ahead and take this Chemtech Drake in live. But look at all the damage that's done in this exchange already. FaZe lives here, which is really critical. He does a ton of damage here until Chovy shows up. And then Hanwha Life hiding around, not very decisive here. Zeka does use the Zhonya's, but he's taking so much damage. And Viper wants to end the game. And I think he gets chased down either way here, but commits halfway. They do go down and super indecisive with how they decide whether we're going to end and just focus or try to win a fight and focus. They do neither. And Gen.G with a punish play here to bring them back into this game. Hanwha Life still with a massive advantage here, 2 inhibitors up. But we're just 1 team fight away from Hanwha Life losing that 3rd game opportunity.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how it has come down to this, as I feel like that small amount of tenacity will actually help against this Taliyah that has been such a thorn in their side. How much it will help is up to you, the viewer. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's very good that they do get that, get one step closer towards the soul. Might not even get there, but as you mentioned, it just gives another opportunity to Gen G where probably there shouldn't have been one. Yeah, especially because now Hama Life, I mean, they don't have a lot of vision here. They don't have a great setup around this Baron. They look a little bit frazzled.
Because of the Sun Disc turret, you don't have to worry about these super minions coming through as much. You can kind of burn those down and head over here to this Baron pit. You have a lot of agency now as Gen G to try to wrap around and take a straight up 5v5 fight that's longer. If you pick Viper and there's no counter pick from Zeka, I mean, there's so much power in this. Look at Paze's agency here. Even on Illusion, when you know Zeka has to deal with this wave here, you can actually step forward like that. Put out your damage, use your combo, and continue to push Hanwha Life Esports back, and that's exactly what he does. Still a tough fight here, right? If anyone steps into Talia's shove range, they will be deleted. But like you said, there shouldn't even be this opportunity. Chovy having to deal with these super minions bottom here means Hanwha Life may actually just push mid, pull the trigger on a collapse. They have a Vi. Gotta be decisive. You're gonna get Baron on spawn here.
They have so much damage with the Zeri. But it doesn't look like Gen G want to give them an opportunity to take this down. They can't zone away Peanuts.
Chovy on the edge. Can't break that crown. That's massive. So close to it, but not quite enough.
Zeka,
TP for the split push.
Here we go. Trying to interrupt it. Gen G are just sprinting for it as Zeka is just sailing on in. And the double TP should be enough. They stop the backs of Gen G. They bait them into the team fight, and that is going to do it. Hama Life Esports will take down the Nexus and force a Game 3.
And just like every win Hanwha has picked up in our first 2 weeks of the LCK, the whole team is sitting 2 players on Zeka's left shoulder and 2 players on Zeka's right shoulder as he carries them to victory. So many amazing plays from him on this Talia all game long, and he's the one seemingly who makes the call to TP bottom to end the game there. This is the most decisive game of Hanwha Life Esports we have seen all season. Cleanest game from Klid on the Vi. This is the first time, I think, the first real glimpse. That Kwangdong series doesn't count. The first glimpse of what this super team could be. Taking out players like Chovy, Doran, Peanut in this second game. This is a game to be proud of. This is a game to celebrate for HLE fans because for once, things went according to plan. The coordination was good. They got the Zeri ahead. They played around the fact that there are 2 big damage threats in this composition. One of them is burst, one of them is long-term. And yeah, look at the damage. Zeka doesn't do as much long-term damage, but his presence in these fights, the threat of that shove, really hurts the Wukong pick here from Peanut. Doran with some overextension, some over-aggressive moments. And Paze just didn't have a great target here. And they were trying to wombo these fights with Chovy's ults rather than trying to get a single pick. Because if you try to go tunnel into that one pick, Talia's waiting arms are there. Yeah. What a great game from HLE.
And that's a second game in a row now where the counter pick has been utilized so perfectly. The Aurelia in game 1 from Gen G and the Talia in game 2 from Hanwha Life Esports. This red side getting more and more stunk.